Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Welcome to IMS. Today we have Tim Harvey joining us. Tim, let us know who you are.
Sure, yeah. Ricardo, thanks for having me. The name is Tim Harvey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called FlyDragon, which helps top producing real estate agents be recommended by AI. So we founded about 15 months ago. We work with 100 plus agents and teams across the US, a little bit of Canada. And that's what I'm doing today. But prior to this, I've been in real estate marketing now for a decade, the better part of a decade. I was the chief operating officer for a prominent real estate marketing company, helping thousands of agents with all aspects of digital marketing. So I've been doing this for quite some time. And I could say the last 15 or so months since co-founding FlyDragon, with the advent and the adoption of AI, it's been a really fun experience.
Wonderful. So tell us about your journey from education, and then the first job, and then ending in real estate, and now on Go FlyDragon.
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at the University of Rhode Island, where I studied business. Post-college, the day after, actually, I commissioned as a lieutenant in the Marine Corps. So I went the Marine Corps route for a handful of years. So you could say that, the through line through my entire career has been operations. After the 5 or so years I did active duty, I went right back to school. Wasn't ready to leave San Diego quite yet. And so I went to get my MBA at San Diego State University, where I studied or specialized in marketing. After that, actually during that, I landed my first marketing job with a subsidiary of Daimler, which is Mercedes-Benz parent company. And so I did that for a year or two, came back to Massachusetts, where I live now, worked for a state senator doing his operations in his district. And then from there, ran operations for UMass Medical School, a part of the UMass Medical School. And then that's when I got into real estate marketing. I found my love for helping real estate agents get more listings.
All right, wonderful. So let's talk about, as you went on your own on Go FlyDragon, you probably, 18 months ago, you had probably a big marketing challenge. You had experience in marketing, but now this is your own baby. So tell us how you went about marketing and branding your organization.
Yeah, that was brand new. I've always been back of house, right? Running operations, pulling levers behind the scenes. So this was a huge leap of faith to walk away from that security blanket of having a W-2. But I always knew, and I would always say publicly, at some point I would love to be a co-founder. What I needed to wait for was a great idea and something that I believed in that would get me out of bed every day. And so I would say halfway through 2024, we were adopting AI early. The company was Curator, and I started having fun with AI. I could see where the world was going, and I started seeing this opportunity to treat AI as a marketing channel. And so, long story short, the very beginning, January of 2025, we found the company, through my network, grabbed the first handful of agents. Let's go beta test this. Let's see if we can influence the answers to recommend these top producers. And it worked. And then the challenge was, okay, I've got two problems. The first problem is agents don't even know this opportunity exists, or this problem exists. The way you look at it can be a problem. If you are a top producing agent today and you are completely AI invisible, you are losing to your competitors. And I think that will continue to be the case as more consumers adopt AI. So I had to convince them, number one, of this problem. And I had to then convince them that I am the solution to this problem. And so I think distribution, Ricardo, was the number one priority. But I'll also say this. The first 3 to 6 months, my goal wasn't growth. I didn't want to grow too fast. It was still largely unproven, but I knew, at least I fundamentally believed that the first dozen or so clients that I had, they were going to be my referral engine. I needed to overservice them. I needed to make sure that we retained them, that they were happy, that they were getting phone calls, that they were winning listings through their efforts that our team was doing. And it proved to be true. And so I think that was, largely the biggest hurdle was, and we don't have that problem today. I'll say, every day I'm talking to agents, and the first question I ask is, how'd you find us? If it wasn't from an agent referral or a webinar I did or podcast or in-person event, it's, hey, I asked AI, who is the best at this? And FlyDragon was the answer. So I think that speaks to not just real estate agents, but businesses are waking up to this opportunity that, oh man, I need to be in the answers, because this is where the consumer is going today, to AI. And those blue clicks on Google are eroding quickly.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about a situation in which you expected to receive this much in marketing, you received this much, where you learn something, and it can be a Go Fly Dragon or anything else.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, marketing is, it's never proven, right? You test something, you fail, you learn from it, you iterate, you test again. So there's probably dozens of examples of where, I thought this would work, it didn't work. I think one that comes right to mind is cold email outreach. I'm relatively new to it. I've been watching businesses kill it. I see stories on Instagram or Reels all the time of, hey, this is working, do this. It's basically on autopilot, it's booking appointments. So I thought, okay, what's the harm in this? Let's try cold email outreach. And I'll say the rule of thumb, at least as I understand it, again, that this is probably one of the disciplines I'm not, I don't have tacit knowledge in. I have a little bit today, but one client per every 1,000 emails. Okay, that's the bar. Let's go after that. Now I will say we have had a few customers find us through this cold email strategy, and our reply rates are fantastic, like well above the average. The problem is that our TAM, our total addressable market, is smaller. Like we are focused in one vertical, at least today, real estate, but we can't help the 3 million real estate agents in the US as much as we'd like to. So our ICP, our ideal customer profile, is that top producing agent closing 25 plus transactions each year. They should be in the answers and they're not. And so what I learned is, okay, we're getting these replies, but it's fizzling out. Why? They're not qualified or they don't understand it. And so we didn't throw a ton of money at this, and we're still doing it. We're, working, iterating it, see if we can perfect this process. But I think that the problem goes back to lesson learned. Not every strategy that works for one business is going to fit our business model. And cold email outreach is still TBD. We haven't cracked the code yet.
Yeah. It's not for every business or for every company. We are very successful at it. That's how you and I are talking.
You're right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. You're right. It was a cold email.
Yeah.
And I replied to the email like, yeah, I'd love to hop on here with you. You're right. It does work. And I think the business model matters.
Yeah, exactly. The business model, and there are certain keys to that. We have been able to crack it, but not for every business. So there's certain things.
You're gonna have to teach me, Ricardo.
Yeah, no problem. All right. How do you approach storytelling in your brand communication?
So I'll break up my personal brand from the business. For me personally, I like to keep it raw. I believe in building publicly. Like let the market see, let these agents that I'm connected with on Facebook or Instagram, let them see what I'm doing. And I really enjoy this, sharing screenshots when an agent sends me a text message because they're so excited. I just got a phone call. They've already made up their mind because Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok recommended that I list my home with you. They share that, I screenshot that, or it's an email, and I share that on social. It's very raw. I'm adding some context in the copy. But obviously I love when the client's happy, I'm happy, the team's excited, their work matters. And so I share that. Actually, just this morning, I shared something on Facebook. In the month of March, we published more website content in just that 1 month than we did of all of 2025. It's a testament that, we've tripled the business over the last year, but also we have increased the volume of content just through finding efficiencies. We've increased the volume of content that we're publishing each month. I wanted to share that publicly, so we're not behind the curtain. We're building it in the open, and the reason why I do that, well, twofold. One is I want the world to see, and I'm proud of it. I want to share these wins along the way, but also it does drive inbound, direct messages. Every time I'm sharing a reel or maybe just a Facebook post, I'm getting at least one DM from an agent who I'm connected with saying, okay, I'm seeing your stuff. I'm seeing the wins. Like, let's set up a call. I want to understand exactly how you can help me. So I keep it personal. I keep it raw for my personal brand. For the Fly Dragon brand in particular, that's your traditional digital marketing. Yeah, we're blogging. We're sharing social posts. We have the podcast, myself and one of our co-founders. But we're more traditional with that side of the business than I am when I'm personally doing my own brand marketing.
Okay, wonderful. What do you see as the biggest trend in marketing in your industry today? And obviously, AI is your tool, is your channel. What else do you see?
Well, I was going to say that. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say self-serving. It is AI visibility. And it's not just for real estate. I think every business right now, we're in this interesting window. It's a bit of a gold rush where it is a differentiator. It's a new channel. So if your business is largely from, repeat business, referrals, word of mouth, cold email outreach, we're always trying to find like how do we do something different to continue to scale. This is a channel that is a differentiator today, but it's not going to be a differentiator forever. It's in fact, I think it's going to be for the next 6 to 12 months max. It will be the bar. And if you are invisible, you're just left behind. I mentioned, the organic clicks. They're down 50% since Google's rolled out AI overviews. People are looking for information quickly. They're not clicking blue links as much as they used to. They're also adopting AI, and they're having long. I forget what the number off the top of my head, but I want to say Google searches are on average are 3 to 4 words. With ChatGPT, it's 15 to 25 plus words. Much more conversational, and it's very niche. Get very specific and get different answers than you would get on page 1 of Google. So yeah, and I think leveraging AI, number one, is mission critical for any business who's looking to grow or at least stay relevant at a minimum. But I also fundamentally believe in keeping human in the loop. And what I mean by that is, do I write a Facebook post with Claude? I do, or a LinkedIn post, even blogs. We do, but we don't just post that, right? Maybe it gets us to the 10-yard line. Then we've got to tweak it, personalize that before we're ready to publish. I heard this great analogy, and I believe it fundamentally. We're at the stage of AI. This is the Model T. We've yet to see the Tesla. Now that was roughly 100 years between the Model T and the Tesla, and think of how different Ford's truck was compared to Elon's Tesla. It's not going to take a century for the Tesla of AI to be here. Like we are entering into agentic AI. So this is the next, I would say, every business for their own marketing needs to be focusing on leveraging AI chatbots. And a lot of early adopters have adopted that. We're now exiting, the AI chatbot era and have entered agentic AI, which means you don't have to just ask, ChatGPT, hey, give me, write this blog post with this prompt, or give me this, you're an expert copywriter, draft this Facebook post for me. Now you can implement Claude Cowork or OpenAI's Codex, and it can handle tasks. This is what I want. It will figure out the best way to do that, and it can run a business on autopilot. I mean, theory, we haven't done this yet, but I see people using, basically they create a series of agents. They have a marketing team of one, and they're leveraging agentic AI for that purpose. So that is something I think every business should at least be aware of, if not explore and see how they can continue to scale with agentic AI at its back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I am starting to build a product myself with it, and yeah.
I love it.
Okay, let's go. Let's talk about your ideal client. You mentioned it would be a realtor who produces at least 20 to 30 homes a year. What else? Who else would be your ideal client? Give us more definition of that ideal client for Go Fly Dragon.
Yeah, it's more complex than that, but yeah, baseline. This is not hard and fast, but against the ideal customer, doing 25 plus transactions a year, and there's roughly 160,000 agents in the U.S. doing that today. And it's not just the sides, the number of transactions, volume matters as well. You could sell 25, $100,000 homes or plots of land, but then you have an agent in Southern California who sells 6 homes a year, but they're $2 million homes. So the volume kind of works itself out. And the reason for that is because we're looking at where are the sources of information. When I ask the subjective question of who's the best agent in, Boston, Massachusetts, it's not just making up that answer, right? It's looking at trusted sources. It's citing Zillow and Fast Expert and Yelp and Homes.com, and it's looking at volume, transactional volume. It's looking at review count, 5-star review count, the velocity of reviews, and probably 200 other AI visibility ranking factors. So what part of it, is the metrics. Okay, are they actively producing? We can absolutely help those agents, and we've done it time and time again. If they aren't necessarily there yet, they're still growing their business, we're very transparent with them. It's going to take longer, likely, but if you're willing to it to take more time, you believe in this, let's move forward with this partnership. In addition to their production, we need agents who understand that they understand AI on some level. Like that, they understand the upside. Maybe they don't understand the inner workings of it, and they haven't adopted it personally, but they understand that this is the next thing. It's been attributed to being bigger than the advent of electricity. So they understand the opportunity. Maybe it's nebulous and how they capitalize it, which is how they end up on my calendar. Hey, I was asking Chat or asking Google. I know I need to do this. So they're forward thinking, right? They're innovators or early adopters. That's important as well. The last bit of that would be, They need to trust the experts, right? And I know real estate agents in particular, the same for their clients. They want to work with buyers and sellers who are going to trust, if they're listing a home, they're going to trust that, hey, I've done the comparative market analysis. This is what I think we need to list your home for. There are those sellers that have hard opinions. No, I want to list for this. And you run the risk of it sitting on the market longer, or over time it goes through price reductions. It's a very painful experience. We like to work with the agents who will trust the experts and not. Sometimes they'll have ideas, right? And not that we want to push away these ideas, but we are crystal clear on the deliverables. We're crystal clear on our North Star metric in how to get them in the answers. So if they want to, this bespoke project of, it'd be great if we can create these pages. I always have those conversations and I ask, to what end? What is the goal here? Because, we could be spinning our wheels and losing time, valuable time, to get you ahead of your competitors. So I would say the coachable, trusting the experts, we're keeping them aware of what we're doing along the way. But I'll hear them out, but I'd rather them trust that we've done this for more agents than anyone else in the country. And so we have a ton of data. We know what works. We know what maybe the influencers or experts say should matter that really don't, could potentially even hurt you, because we have more data than anybody else.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Tim Harvey as a person. So let's imagine that you go to any restaurant and you're in one of those booths that you cannot see in front, you cannot see behind you, but you realize that there are three best friends talking about you. What are the three things that you would like them to say about you?
This was like I said, for anybody who's built a business, and this is my first time, it was a huge leap of faith. And I've got a family. I have three young boys. My wife was pregnant with our third right as I was, leaving the security blanket. So it was, you can always fail. A lot of businesses fail. Probably most businesses fail on some degree, but I wasn't afraid to take that leap of faith and just bet on myself and just, stay driven. So I would say that I'm driven, that I care about the impact that I'm making in the world, both professionally and personally, and that I'm a great father and husband. And everything that I do ultimately at the end of the day is for the family.
That's a good answer. Usually the answers that I get are, but yours are very good. I like them.
I appreciate that.
All right. You and I both know that life is great, but at times, you get your up and downs in the professional world or even personal. When both of them collapse, how do you keep yourself grounded?
This one's probably easier for me. I have a pretty unique experience as a Marine officer. I cut my teeth in Operation Enduring Freedom, right? So I've been trained for the worst. I have perspective that most don't have, I would think. And I always believe that we don't rise to the occasion. We fall to our level of training. So I always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. It takes a lot to overwhelm me. I'll say that.
Okay. But when you get overwhelmed, what do you do?
I guess there's no process. There's no like aha moment or mantra. I don't do yoga breathing. I just keep moving. I just know that the work that I'm doing, again, it's the connective tissues there between the family element of it and the business that we're growing. I talk about it with my wife in the mornings and the nights. I think that any moment I get overwhelmed, it's quickly buried down deep because I'm so excited about the work that I'm doing. And I'm speaking strictly about the business. I'm up. I probably wake up 3 times a night, Ricardo. I'm at that stage of the business where it's incredibly exciting. Our agents are winning. And so, let's say we have an agent who's not happy for whatever reason. We're misaligned somewhere. It happens, of course, happens in every business. Hey, I had an email yesterday from an agent. We're crushing it for him, in my opinion. And he said that he's not happy thus far. We're 2 months in, I think, maybe approaching the third month. And I looked at everything. Okay, his organic traffic is up 60%. Impressions are up 60%. We've doubled his AI mentions in the last 30 days alone. We have him in the answers. So, I haven't connected with him on a call yet, but I'm confused. And so it's a shot to the gut because I take a ton of pride in the work that the team does here at Fly Dragon. And I'm looking at everything objectively saying we're crushing it. So it crushes me. And so, but it quickly gets buried because of all the other good things that are happening. I think that when the good outweighs, the bad, it's easy for me to just focus on the good things that are happening and take the other stuff in stride.
Okay. Everybody has that perception of their own reality, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What advice would you give to yourself you're a wise person now, but when you first graduated and you were going to the Marine Corps, what advice would you give yourself?
I'll say, yeah, my wise old years of 40 years old today and everything that I've learned. Well, I'll actually fast forward just a little bit past the Marine Corps years. So come off active duty, I get that job with a subsidiary of Daimler, and I'm doing the marketing there. And the offer I got, I was shocked because the offer that this recruiter presented me, I was already working there as actually a contractor during my MBA. And then as soon as I graduated, like, hey, we want you to come on full time. I was excited. Hey, this feels good to be wanted. The offer was way below what I was making at the time as a captain in the Marine Corps. And so I had this moment of, I know what I'm worth, right? I don't want to take this step backwards. What does this mean for my future? When I eventually will leave this company and, am I pigeonholed at this point? And I took the job. I stayed for about a year. I didn't want to, early in your career, I don't know how relevant they are today, but the resume was super important. This is 2012-ish. Resume is super important. I don't want to look like I'm jumping ship every year or so. So I, tough it out for at least a year, take the job with the senator back here for a year. And that was actually another step down. You don't make a lot of money as a legislative aide. But he was like, hey, come back to Massachusetts. I'll help you network and introduce you to some interesting people. And I took that job opportunity for that sole purpose. Then I go to UMass Medical School, a little bit of a bump, still not where I was maybe 3 years before, which is demoralizing. Like, when am I going to start to get back to where I was and even exceed where I was? And then that brings me to real estate marketing. So through my network, I get introduced to the CEO, co-founder of Curator, and totally believed in his mission, totally believed in him as a leader, a super bright guy, probably the sharpest guy in real estate marketing. It still is today. And the only thing they had available was an entry-level marketing position. And so I had a judgment call to make. And it was a lateral move at that point in terms of salary. I decided to take the job. And I said to myself, like, look, I am going to work incredibly hard. I'm going to exceed expectations, and I'm going to rise with this company. This was the first company I was at that I really believed in the organization and what it was doing. So it was easy for me to say, I'm just going to over service. I'm going to stand out. And so just get the foot in the door. Foot gets in the door. I'm hell bent on excelling, and climbed. But at the 2 years after I joined Curator, I was the second in command. I took over as the chief operating officer and stayed there for another 5 or 6 years. So the advice I would say that younger Tim, the high and tight, don't be afraid to, take that leap of faith. Upward mobility is rarely linear, right? It's like the stock market. And so you gotta put the pride to the side and say, if this is what you want and you believe in this and you can see, where you can go, just see what your future looks like. It'll work out. It has worked out. So I think that'd be the advice I'd give myself at 22.
Right. I have one last question.
Yeah.
What do you want your personal legacy to be?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think I'm living my legacy right now. I think I grinded through my 20s. I would tell myself I'm going to work incredibly hard in my 20s. In the 30s, I'm going to slow down. And I didn't. And I actually pushed harder. And it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of family time, comes at a cost of spending time with your wife, vacationing. I do that, but not as much as, in my mind, I'm going to do it more every decade. And now here I am at 40 and just sitting down having coffee this morning before the kids get up, talking about this, how much I work. And I'm doing this. There's an end goal in mind, Ricardo. I'm not doing this because I'm addicted to working. I'm doing it to build a beautiful life for my family. Do I enjoy what I do? I do. So it's partially selfish. I enjoy doing this. I wouldn't want it to be handed to me. I want to go out and earn this. So I think my legacy is this. I want to build something with my hands. Now, my father owned an HVAC company for 40 years. He truly worked with his hands. I work with the keyboard. But I want to build something from nothing and walk away from that, whether it's a year or two from now or 20 years from now, proud of this thing that came from nothing. And I had a hand in that. And I think professionally that would be the legacy that I would want to leave behind.
Again, thank you very much for being part of IMS. Look forward to working with you and collaborating with you.
Very much appreciate the opportunity, Ricardo. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.